Welcome to Manifest, hosted by international evangelist, teacher, and author Perry Stone. On today's program, you will experience a powerful right now word that will change your life forever. Enjoy unique insight into prophetic and practical truth as Perry ministers using biblical word studies, ancient Jewish history, and Hebrew customs that will cause the scriptures to come alive as never before. It's time to feast on fresh manna, so get ready to be blessed and encouraged. And now, here is your host and teacher, Perry Stone.
Today on Manifest, we begin a very special prophetic alert. I have with me today a special guest, Kelvin McDaniel. In a few moments, we're going to be sharing with you exclusive footage that he took in Indonesia. And we're going to be sharing with you some very amazing prophetic insight. I want to take a moment and tell you that I believe with all of my heart that what I'm about to share is a right now word from God. There is no new revelation in God's Word, but there is fresh illumination. As God said to Daniel, in the last days, knowledge would be increased. So God is going to take the revelation of His Word and open it up to you and I. I believe what I'm about to tell you is a right now word from God. I want to emphasize that again. After studying biblical prophecy for almost 20 years, preaching the gospel now for over 25 years, and looking at prophecy in detail and examining the minute details of both the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation, Matthew, Zechariah, and Ezekiel, I believe that the last world dictator who will form an eighth and final kingdom and will rule for 42 months will be a fanatical Islamic dictatorship and a fanatical Islamic kingdom. Now, I have been sharing this information off and on for about 10 years, but we never were able to compile it together into one piece of information the way that we are going to, and we're going to be presenting our brand new book later on called Unleashing the Beast, which has done just that. But today on the program, I want to begin a study, and I want to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 17, 8 through 10, and lay a foundation before we go to Kelvin. And John in the book of Revelation is describing the kingdoms and the empires of biblical prophecy and the ones that would rule at the end of day. It was John the Apostle who coined the term Antichrist, hu Antichristos, the Antichrist. It's found 4 times in John's epistles, not St. John's Gospels, but 1 John, 2 John, 3 John. It is also John who wrote the book of Revelation that gives us the greatest insight into the very last days, into the rule of this man called Antichrist, and into his empire. Now here's what the Bible says. There are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. One is, and the other is not yet come, and when he comes, he must continue a short space. The beast that was and is not, he is the 8th and is of the 7, and he shall go into perdition. Now, let's break this verse of Scripture down for just a moment and see what it's actually talking about. There are 5 prophetic kings that have ruled and affected Israel and Jerusalem and the Jewish people. Prophetically, here's what they are. The Bible begins with the Egyptian Empire in the book of Exodus that took Israel captive for 400 years. So from Egypt, then there was the Assyrians. Under the Assyrians, the tribes were divided. 10 tribes were taken captive. Then there was the Babylonians. Under the Babylonians, of course, the book of Daniel is written at that time frame. The Jews were taken captive in Jerusalem and the temple was destroyed. So we have the Egyptians, the Assyrians, and the Babylonians. Afterwards came the Medes and Persians, which gave the Jews permission to rebuild Jerusalem and their temple. Following that came the Grecian Empire, which was with Alexander the Great. Following that came the Roman Empire. So the 5 empires that have fallen are Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Media, Persia, and Greece. Watch this now. In John's day, there was one that was, here's how the Bible says, 5 are fallen, 1 is. The one that existed in John's day, without a doubt, in about 95 AD, when he wrote the book of Revelation, is the Roman Empire. Now here's the key. The other king and kingdom is not yet come, but when he comes, he will continue a short space. Now, we're going to be delving into some other things. On one program, we're going to go to the image, which is actually behind me here, and we're going to talk about the 10 kings and 10 toes. So I know people, when we teach like this, they have a lot of questions. Hold your questions till you hear all the teaching, because we'll probably answer it on one of the other programs. But watch carefully. There's one empire, which is empire number 7, which continues a short space, but it comes out of the Roman Empire. What is that? Without a doubt, it's what we know as the common market. How that they are reunifying those nations in Europe, breaking down the borders, having one currency and one passport. That is kingdom number 7. But please hear me. Kingdom 7 only continues a short space because a new king arises out of that area and forms number 8. Now, this is where most prophecy preachers don't preach. In fact, the other day I heard a noted prophecy scholar talking about empire number 7. It was the final empire. It was the common market and the fulfillment of all prophecy. That's not according to Revelation 17:10 through 11. There is an 8th kingdom which will rule for 42 months, or in the book of Daniel 12, time, that's 1 year, times is 2 years, dividing of time is a half a year, 3.5 years. And I want to tell you, I am convinced, I would have said maybe 2 years ago that I was convinced 95%. I'm convinced 100% it is an Islamic kingdom. It will be a kingdom of which a man that will be a fanatical Muslim who will come in the name of peace but then turn on the world, use weapons of mass destruction to hold nations hostage. And I'm convinced without a shadow of a doubt, after researching this now for 20 years and 12 years just on the subject of Islam, that this is how it's going to come to pass. Now here's one thing I want to show you, and then we're going to go to Brother Kelvin and we're going to share some things with you. One thing I want to show you is this. Preachers who preach that the common market is the fulfillment of these 10 kings that the Antichrist rules over. We have a problem with that because the common market's about to get 10 more nations plus 5 more nations. The common market may end up with 25 or 30 nations before it's over with. So that kind of blows that little theory of the 10 toes on the image being the common market and the 10 flags on the flagpole in Brussels being the common market. That kind of blows that out of the water. Now, the way prophecy preachers get around that is they say, well, there's going to be great wars and countries are going to be swallowed up and they're going to end up with 10. Well, that is true. There will be wars. But let me show you something of very, very importance. If this empire, which is now forming, called the common market, is simply a continuation of the old Roman Empire. I'm going to show you a map. In fact, I want them to get ready to go to that map because it's very important that we show people this in detail, okay? Now, I want to show you the nations that were a part of the Roman Empire of prophecy in John's day that are not in the common market today. You ready? The edge of, actually the top part of Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, the country of Egypt, and then of course Israel was a part of that empire. It's not in the common market. Lebanon, Syria, Turkey. Now here the Bible says in Daniel 7 the beast rises up out of the sea, and older translations indicate that that's the Mediterranean Sea area or the Great Sea. And look at the countries here. Now look, Muslim, 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 Muslim. Israel has the Palestinians and of course a large Muslim population. Lebanon used to be a strong Christian nation, now Muslim. Syria is Muslim. Turkey is very moderate Muslim. Now look at this again. Here we're talking about the common market, which is predominantly this part of the world now, which is Britain and Spain and France and Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium. And if we say the common market is the final empire, it can't be, because all these countries right through here used to be in the Roman Empire territory. All right, now, here, if we keep going this way, you have Greece and Italy, and you have Spain. All of this territory is, in fact, this map is specifically a map that deals with the territories of the old Roman Empire. We had this especially made for our television program. Now, notice this, that you have Spain, the edge of France, you have Italy, and you have Greece, Greece, for example, is predominantly Greek Orthodox. Italy is Roman Catholic. Spain is Catholic. France is a mixture, of course, of religions. But watch this. Muslim, 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 Muslim. The edge of this is Muslim. Now, what I'm trying to say is simply this. This is very important that you understand this prophetically. That if we teach that the 7th empire of Bible prophecy is the revived Roman Empire, what are you going to do with all these Muslim nations that were a part of the Roman Empire that are not in the common market? Now, I want you to think for a moment. The point is, there is an 8th empire, which I'm telling you will be an Islamic empire ruled by a fanatical dictator that will be the Antichrist. The fanatics will accept him. They won't know him as the Antichrist. They won't call him as the Antichrist. In fact, he'll be known in Islam as the Mahdi, the enlightened one. We'll talk about that later. And these countries will all be a part of a fulfillment of the end-time prophecy when this individual rules for a period of 42 months. Now, on another program, I'm going to show you the division of the empire between the East and the West, how Turkey will be a leading country, Italy will be a leading country, and all that will come into place. So I'm emphasizing to you today something that's very important, and that is that when you are in the United States of America and all you do, or all you talk about is just the West, the West, the West, and you don't travel, you don't see what I'm saying. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. When you read the book of Revelation 13, it says, who can make war against the beast? Twice it mentions that. It mentions in the book of Zechariah these weapons that the tongue melts in the person's mouth and the eyes in the socket. Jesus said, except the days of the tribulation be shortened, there would be no flesh saved. The only thing that you can just, and I think people can see this now, the only thing that fits the description of how these prophecies of destruction could come to pass would be fanatical Islam trying to form this empire. I have with me today to help comment on this Kelvin McDaniel. Kelvin, thank you for being with me on the program, by the way, brother.
Well, thank you, Terry.
He's a dear friend. He travels across the world. He ministers. He does conferences, conventions. Now, Kelvin, you just came back from the largest Islamic country in the world. Tell us where that is.
That's right, it's Indonesia, and people are surprised that it's the largest Islamic country in the world because it seems so far away. It's scattered in 13,000 islands.
13,000 islands?
That's right, there's more Muslims there than really anywhere else in the world.
All right, now you did something very unique. You conducted a peace rally at a place called Bali where the actual bombing took place with the terrorists a few months ago. Is that right?
That's right, and the reason we done it because we knew that terrorism was trying to overtake the world, and we knew that the gospel was being preached the least in these areas, so we just went right to the bomb site where really no foreigners were at and just gave them, you know, the light of the gospel.
All right, when you arrived at the airport, I want to share this with people because I'm going to be dealing with Islam. And I want to make it clear, it is really true that the Islamic religion is split between the Sunnis and the Shiites. We know that.
That's right.
But there are, and I know this from traveling in Jordan, Egypt, and Israel, there are moderate Muslims. Now, you don't hear a lot about these guys who are just your common family man, hardworking. How are you received? You were an American going to a bomb site in the largest Islamic country in the world, but they may be surprised of how they received you there. I want you to share that for a moment.
That's right. It does kind of shock people because they think of Islam as being, every Muslim in the world as being a terrorist. When I arrived at the airport, it was like my family had met me at the airport.
And we're talking about Muslims are coming up to you, right?
That's right. Muslims and Hindus alike. Most of them were Muslims there because it was a large Islamic holiday for the end of Ramadan. And they say just inside of Indonesia that 2 million Muslims was traveling just inside of Indonesia moving around. So they were all at the airport and all the taxi drivers was there. Well, when I got there, it wasn't just 2 or 3 minutes until my taxi driver just swelled up with tears and says, I cannot believe you're here as an American. Why would you come? And so we wanted to go with the message of Christ and the message that America loves all the Muslim people, and we're just trying to get them saved.
Yeah, and so you brought a good, solid gospel message on Jesus, the Prince of Peace. Now,
that's right.
Where did you do it at, though? This is the part I want you to hear.
That's right. We chose to do it right directly across the street from the bomb site was our initial plan.
And we've got video footage we're throwing in right here of that.
Right. And what it actually ended up being was not just across the street from the bomb site, but actually the Sorry Club was the name of the nightclub.
And there's a wooden
bombed.
fence up. You can see on the video.
That's right. There's a wooden fence, which was a perimeter for the investigators. They allowed us behind the wooden fence, actually inside the Sorry Club, where the bomb had killed almost 200 Australians, and we had a meeting in there.
So you ministered on the Prince of Peace at the bomb site,
right,
at the club, and hundreds of people were there.
That's right.
And you actually saw Muslims weeping. Hindus weeping.
Uncontrollably.
At the gospel.
Yeah, actually uncontrollably. I feel like their hearts had been softened because of the tragedy. I would listen to their stories where they were at 11 o'clock that night, and in between their stories, I would insert like a miracle story we had saw or something that the Lord had done in our lives. And suddenly, because their hearts were softened because of all this, they were very receptive to the gospel and just started weeping, raising their hands.
Now, the point I want to make I want to make 2 quick points before we run out of time. These Muslims told you directly that they hated the terrorism and they hated the terrorists. Is that right?
That's right.
They made it clear to you.
That's right. They want us to understand. In fact, they said, please tell America. They actually go back and say, please tell the Americans that we are different. That they look at the terrorists as not even being proper holy Muslims. They look at them as just being what we see them, fanatical, psycho terrorists.
Now, that's point 1. But point 2 is they understand terrorism is on the rise, and they understand that America is going to be attacked again. Is that right?
Right. They actually have told us, not just in Indonesia, but like in Morocco and other places, other Islamic countries, that the September 11th attacks certainly was not the last one. They know it throughout the Muslim world, that America has become a target throughout the world, and it's not stopped, folks. This thing is going to escalate, and it's not just Perry and I saying it or someone else or the news. This is the Muslim world saying it. It's going to escalate, and we are going to hear more.
And here's the reason why. They believe, now we're talking about especially the fanatical element, they believe that it's a season prophetically for them. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
In other words, they believe prophecy has come for them, and their destiny is to see the West decline,
yes,
so that we can see the West will not have an impact in Israel, and therefore they can take over that part of the world. That's the whole theme you heard over there, wasn't
right.
it?
They've been waiting for this for generations.
Right.
They've been waiting for this time, as written in their prophecies, that it would be the last days, and in the very last of days, as Perry's going to teach, they really have been taught throughout generations that an Islamic kingdom is going to rule the entire world.
Now that's the point I want to make. They've been taught there will come an Islamic kingdom.
That's right.
So they're anticipating that. We're talking about 1 billion
plus Muslims. That's right.
Muslims
over
anticipate an Islamic kingdom will rule the world.
Oh, they believe it.
And they believe it. Now, I wanted him to come so that you wouldn't just hear me say it, but you'd hear someone who's met thousands of Muslims who says they all say the same thing.
Right.
They believe it's going to happen. Now, Kelvin, I'm going to share something with the people here. In the book of Revelation, chapter 6, the Bible talks about 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. One is white. He has a bow, and he has a crown going forth to conquer. One is red. And the Bible said this red horse takes peace from the earth with a great sword. That's important. The other one is black, and that represents food rationing. And the 4th horse is called pale. And this pale horse of Revelation 6 has power over 1/4 of the earth to kill with the sword. Now, the red horse and the pale horse have a sword, meaning war. And they're going forth in war. Now, Kelvin, we're about to share something here. I want everybody to really listen carefully. In the Greek, the word pale is the word chloros, and it is not pale. When it's translated in the book of Revelation, it's translated Revelation 8:7, Revelation 9:4. Same Greek word found in Revelation 6 is chloros. It's green.
Wow.
The actual word is a green. It's a pale green or a green color. So the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are white, red, black, and green. Now, why does God use these colors? Because in the Bible, colors always represent something. We don't have time to get into colors, and we're not going to do, please don't ask me, email me and say, Brother Stone, give me the colors in the Bible, but you don't have time to do that. But, you have the veil, which is purple and blue, and you have the different colors which are used in the Bible that represent different things. But please watch this. There's a picture here, we'll bring this up, of the Palestinian flag. The 4 colors of the Palestinian flag, Kelvin, are red, black, white, and green.
My goodness.
The actual 4 colors of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And when you understand biblical prophecy, you understand that the Palestinian issue is going to be the issue to bring about all the last day problems for Israel, predicted in the book of Daniel and also predicted in the book of Revelation. Now, I've talked about the word pale, but very quickly, you went to Indonesia and you discovered the color red is used among the fanatics. Is that right?
That's right. Every time we've been to Indonesia, we would be there when they would have large demonstrations, such as when their new president, there was a political coup d'etat and they overtook and ousted the old president. The demonstrators that are the fanatical Islamic radicals that are on the streets, and I mean tens of thousands of them, you know them because they all have red. If you're driving in a car with your driver and you see this sea of red hats and red flags, they tell us we must avoid this area because these are the radicals, and the red is literally the sign of that.
Now, when the plane, I think it was headed toward Washington, crashed, the man that called his wife, I can't think of his name right now, but the man that called his wife said they have red bandanas on and they have a red box. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
All right, so the color red is used among the fanatics. The color green is used. Now, the reason green is a popular color in Islam, for the mosque in Israel have green lights. If you go, for example, to where the imams are buried in Iraq or Iran, the mosque will all have green in it because green was the color of the earth, but green was also the color of Muhammad, the founder of Islam. And I wore a green coat to Jordan one time that was, I just wore it, man, they loved that coat. They were like, oh, man, let's go, I said, they love the coat. Why? And I found out later why, because that's the color of Islam is green. It was the color of the Jordanian flag. Most Islamic countries have the color green in their flags. A lot of them do.
That's true.
If you'll just look at a flag book, you can see that. Now, the point I wish to make is this. You have a red horse in Revelation with the sword, the pale horse, which is chloros or green, with a great sword. And there is a doctrine called sword of Islam, which is in jihad, which is to kill the infidels with the sword.
That's the truth.
And I believe if you take, again, what Muslims are anticipating, what Islam believes, and talking about the fanatical side, and you tie it together with the biblical prophecies, my friend, you have to come to the conclusion that Islam will form a final kingdom on earth, that the fanatics will be successful at the very end of days for 42 months, and then the good news is Jesus Christ will return, Revelation 19, Zechariah 14, and the real Prince of Peace will set up his kingdom on the earth. But when you study the Bible and you begin to see how that peace is taken from the earth, that's what the word says with the four horsemen. It says peace is taken from the earth with a great sword, and you begin to see who can make war against the beast. This is the Antichrist in Revelation chapter 13, and you see the fighting and the war, and you hear Jesus say, except the days be shortened, no flesh would be saved. How is that possible? With 6 billion people on the earth, it's possible through smallpox. It's possible through anthrax. It's possible, and we're going to go to a break, but Kelvin's going to come back with me on a program, and we're going to talk about where Saddam is hiding his weapons. We have a little bit of insight here. Now, people know this already. It's nothing new, but we're going to give you an insight from some people who have lived in that part of the world that have told us information on the next program. But wait, don't go anywhere, because we have released, I felt like that people are going to want the information we're sharing, plus a lot more information that we won't have time to share on our TV program. This is our brand new book, Unleashing the Beast, and the front cover says how a fanatical Islamic dictator will form a 10-nation coalition and terrorize the world for 42 months. We're only going to hit bits and pieces that's in the book, and it's 260 pages. I have what's called a gold seal signed edition waiting for you, and I'm going to tell you not only how to get this book, but how to get a very special bonus cassette, a 90-minute tape called Puppets of the Prince of Persia that I've put together that goes along with this book. Our announcer is coming right now. Get a pen and a piece of paper out. Get ready to make that phone call. This is hot off the press, never been offered in the history of our ministry, the brand new book, Unleashing the Beast. I'll be back in a moment.
In the future, Islamic nations will initiate a Middle Eastern peace plan. After 42 months, a radical Islamic leader will unite a coalition that will terrorize the world with weapons of mass destruction. His hit list will include the Jewish people and those who receive Jesus Christ as their Messiah. In his new signature book, Unleashing the Beast, Perry Stone compiled thousands of hours of research and study of ancient biblical prophecies to reveal how Islamic fanatics will help bring to power the Antichrist of Bible prophecy. Perry will also explain how Muslims are anticipating Mahdi, an Islamic world leader who they believe will convert the world to Islam. Perry will explain in detail why he believes the eighth and final empire of Bible prophecy will be an Islamic coalition that will rule for 42 months. Learn how Jerusalem, Israel, will be the center of this conflict, and how Iraq, the land of ancient Babylon, will rise again in the final days. Perry explains how unusual prophecies will be fulfilled in the future and the role that Islam will play. To order your signed copy of Unleashing the Beast, Perry Stone's newest book, call 1-888-21-BREAD. You may also order online at perrystone.org. By ordering now, Perry will also include a bonus audio cassette message entitled Puppets of the Prince of Persia. This first edition book, Unleashing the Beast, and the bonus audio cassette can be yours for just $20 plus $5 shipping and handling. That number again is 1-888-21-BREAD. You may also write us at Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. When ordering by mail, use the offer number on the screen, enclose $20 plus $5 shipping and handling, and we will send you a signed copy of Perry Stone's newest book, Unleashing the Beast, along with the bonus audio cassette message, Puppets of the Prince of Persia. Don't wait. Order now.
In the history of our ministry, we have written 2 major prophetic books. This is our 3rd, but I believe this is the most timely. Now, just so that you will know, this is not something we just started working on. This concept of the Mahdi, who will be Islam's last prophet that they believe will convert the world to Islam. I've been teaching this for about since 1992, so about 10 years or a little longer now. But this is the first time we've ever put all the information into book form. It's also the first time that we've ever shared some inside information that we won't get into on television, only because so many people watch from different cities and different parts of the world. And we're trying to just make sure that the people who really want the information, that they get it into their hand. Yasser Arafat made a statement on which he said that the Jewish temple that once existed in the area of Nablus, or the area of Shechem. Now, people didn't understand what he meant by that statement. In our book, we were able to visit the temple on Mount Gerizim that is being excavated. We put some pictures that you'll be seeing in our book of that, because the reason Yasser Arafat made the statement is he said the Jews, if they want to build a temple, let them go up there where the Samaritans are and build it, and the Muslims can have the Temple Mount all to themselves. And so there's so much in this whole study that perhaps has not been taught yet that I believe is being taught now, that's going to be a help to you. And once again, let me just reiterate that this is a first edition copy. You're going to be receiving a first edition copy with the gold seal and a signature edition, and we feel like the first edition should be signed. It's very special. We're signing these books now, so you can order it on PRE-TRIBULATION, 1-888-21-BREAD, or you can write me, and not only when you send a check for $20 plus $5 shipping and handling, we're going to get you the book. We're going to also send you the tape, which is The Puppets of the Prince of Persia. Now, just so that you will know, I'm going to make a few announcements, but Kelvin McDaniel will be back with me next week, and we're going to be sharing with you where certain Muslims believe that bin Laden is hiding, and we're also going to be sharing with you some information about Saddam's palaces. And this is some things that I don't know why, but you don't commonly hear it reported on the news. But I believe it's information that is important to you. And we're also going to be dealing with this spirit of Persia in that part of the world. We're going to talk about the invisible side of prophecy, and that'll be on next week's program. Let me take just a moment and tell you that I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your support of our ministry, and we really need you to stand with us in the days ahead as we continue to do the work of God. Also, as you're looking on your screen, you will see some places that we are going to be coming to in the month of, in the upcoming months. I know some of you may watch us on satellite, and some of those dates are a little behind when you see it, but you can go to our website at perrystone.org and always get an updated itinerary of where we're going to be speaking and where we're going to be ministering. And I always want to remind each of you watching to be sure and get into our Pigeon Forge camp meeting. We have a few rooms left at that camp meeting in the month of May, the prophetic camp meeting. And also for you that live in Florida, or you that just want to come to Florida, don't forget about the conference I'm preaching. The location is at Without Walls in the month of June. Now, this is our Spiritual Warfare Prophetic Conference. It's a combination of prophecy preaching and spiritual end-time warfare teaching. It's going to be, I believe, the most anointed, enlightening, illuminating conference that we've ever had. And all of you that want to come to our main event need to come to Dalton, Georgia. We just heard from our friend Ivan Parker. Mr. Southern Gospel Music will be joining us. Karen Wheaton will be joining us. Randy White, Jensen Franklin. And that's at Dalton, Georgia, at the West Georgia Trade and Convention Center in Dalton. There's some information on the screen. Now, the reason I'm telling you about these meetings is these are our main events which are coming up in the future, and we want you to be a part of that. But don't forget that when you write us or you email us, you can get a free resource catalog with tapes, books, and information. You can be a part of our tape club, or you can join our partner Strike Force. A lot of wonderful things that are going on in our ministry that you can be a part of. Again, we're asking you to call the number, write us, or go online to get the new book, Unleashing the Beast. And I'm telling you, I really believe with all of my heart that this will put all of the prophecies of the end time together. And when it's finished, you will understand, hey, that's how it's going to happen. That's where we're going in the future. That's what's going to take place. This is Perry Stone. Don't forget, next week, we're going to give you some information from some Muslims as to the location of bin Laden and what is under Saddam's palaces. See you next week.